Rains, we're live. Let me just confirm. All right, looks like we're live. Good. So whoever's here, I'm George, as you know. I just renamed the little podcast here. Somebody recommended I call it PODLOMATIC. So there we go. This is episode PODLOMATIC. Yeah, it's fun. We're here with none other than the elusive, extremely talented HeHe Silly Comics.
Oh, geez, elusive.
Elusive. Well, you know, I'm sure you're busy.
Yeah, I guess I am. I don't really have any social media, so I guess I am kind of elusive.
Okay, that's one of the questions I could ask, actually, is, you know, why and all that stuff, but we can get to that if you like.
All right.
No problem, honestly. Like, I want this to just be a natural, relaxed conversation. No hard questions. So let's see. Gosh, where do you even start with something like this? It was hard to track you down. I guess we're just going back and forth a lot, but I've been aware of your stuff through Twitter, but I think you were just either getting banned or you had stopped using it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. You had been banned before and then you came back, but then you decided not to use it anymore?
Yeah.
So the first time you were just given the hammer, right?
Yeah.
And the second time you just decided you didn't want to use it anymore, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first time I got banned after like 2 weeks, they just kind of, my comics started picking up traction really unexpectedly. And yeah, I just got banned like right away.
But you had been posting your stuff all over the place, right? Because you have a lot of stuff online if we look up your name.
Actually, the funny thing is I really wasn't posting it all over the place. I only posted them on Twitter because I really didn't expect the comics to go anywhere. I just I did them because I was like, oh, what if I just drew this? This is so silly. Ha, ha, ha. Mm-hmm. I'm so funny. And I posted them on Twitter on an account called Silly Funny Comic because I didn't know what to call my comic, so I just like made up a dumb name because I figured nothing was gonna happen. And then I got like 3 followers, and I was like, oh no, 3 people are watching me. I really got to do my best. And then I started. Yeah, I just posted them on Twitter. I didn't post them anywhere else, and then they ended up being in other places.
Just kept blowing up.
Yeah.
This was last year?
This was literally the day that Trump was inaugurated. That's when I started my comics.
Oh, okay. And now were you immediately jumping into the political stuff?
I'd always been kind of political, I think. Okay. Or like at least casually. Mm-hmm. Like I know that I would get like a little more heated about political stuff than like my peers would at the time. Well, it was also like before Trump was elected, so now everybody's political.
All right. Sorry, in your area, is that unusual? Like, do you find that you have unusual political stances compared to the people around you?
I do now, but I think that at the time it was kind of like split.
Okay. Because when I hear, you don't have to say where you're from if you don't want, but where I live, for instance, in New Jersey, it's very left-leaning, and you know the whole tri-state area. We're near New York and stuff, so everybody. Yeah. It's a funny thing. Like we're outwardly very left-leaning, but I think if you talk to people quietly behind closed doors, they're going to say, "Oh, Trump's not so bad."
Yeah.
So, but they, you know, outwardly, it's, you know, rainbow flags everywhere, and you know, everyone's so happy, and oh, let's be, you know. Which I don't necessarily have any problems with this, but it's this whole like, no, we have to actually hate him in an unhealthy way. But I would imagine living where we live in places that we live, it's kind of like you got to keep it hush hush.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm living right now, I don't associate with a whole lot of people. Like I just kind of stay home or like I'll go by myself somewhere. So I'm not really interacting with people. But when I do, I mean, like, I do kind of like try to read them and see like what they're about.
Do you feel like, because part of using pseudonyms and doing your stuff online, let's say, do you feel a certain like, oh, if only they knew who I was, you know, would they throw tomatoes at you? You think?
Maybe. I don't know. I like to, just for my own comfort, to be honest, I like nobody to know what I'm doing online.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody would come after me because I'm such a neat. I don't really have a whole lot going on, so they don't have much to really take away from me.
Uh-huh.
But I think that a lot of it's just because like I don't like to mix my personal life and my internet life at all. It just feels dirty.
Okay. That makes sense. I think part of the reaction, I guess, would have been against you, let's say, is that I don't mean to, you know, puff you up by saying this, but your comics are unbelievably good. And I think there is a reason for me to say this, though. I think that that's very threatening to some people. Let's say, for instance, the politics aside, this is a very talented person. We can't have them doing things or making content that's against us. So we have to basically run them off the platform. I have a personal sensitivity towards this because that's what's happened to me numerous times. But I think a lot of artists, gosh, I don't know. I think I've always had this feeling that there's a very political, let's say, predisposition for like, oh, artists have to have these politics or else we're not going to let them in our circle.
Yeah, and there are a lot of artists I feel like that they do a really, really good job of keeping it hidden. So like they'll be conservative and stuff, and they will just be really, really good at hiding it, and like they get good jobs and stuff. But for me, it's like I can't help but like spurg out online. So where does that put me? I'm not going to be in that position.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I ask though is like, for instance, talking about things like career and future and all that. Is this something that you plan to pursue career-wise? Okay. It's just sort of a hobby?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't see this like really going anywhere sustainable personally. So I want to start like having kids as soon as possible, and I don't think that's gonna do any favors for me.
Jeez, that's tragic to hear.
Yeah.
Is it because of you're worried about consequences or because
No, I mean, like, ideally, if I were making enough money doing my comics, I would be having kids like right away. Because that would put me in a really ideal situation, I think, so that I could stay at home with my kids. But I kind of figured, like, you know, I'm not going to get the money that I need fast enough without being a wagey.
Okay. Let's see. There are natural questions. I'm trying to be careful. Well, all right. So all of the content that I've been able to dig up, let's say, has a certain spicy quality, if that's the word I might use. I don't often find anyone who would do something like that without using a pseudonym. But
Right.
is there, like South Park back in the day? I'm in my early 30s. If I was watching South Park when I was in middle school, let's say, and they had just when it was coming out, it was very spicy, and they were intentionally trying to be provocative.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't watch South Park anymore, but I assume the kind of comics that I see from yourself and others like Mr. Pumpkin Face and that sort of thing, and Stone Toss and those kinds of people, they exist to me in the same space that South Park existed back then. Kind of like, I don't like the word edgy, but like it is very much on the edge of like, holy crap.
I like saying I like edgy because I think it's just like a silly word and it's descriptive, so I just go with it. And I think that especially Wormwood does a really good job with that because his stuff isn't always like political either. It's just like he makes stuff just to be like, oh, I should draw this because it's something I ought not to do.
Okay. So they enjoy the stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was too bad for me because by the time I was big enough, let's say not big enough, not to sound like that, but by the time I was known, my stuff was already so obvious that even if I started a pseudonym, it like they would immediately know it was me again. So
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
yeah.
Like, I think I could do a good normie comic, but I also think that they would be like, they would end up milkshake ducking me.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
throwing a milkshake at you.
no. Like, there's like it's like a meme, I guess, or like a milkshake duck is basically like everybody loves something and they find out something really terrible about it.
Oh.
And then they're like, oh no, I didn't know that the milkshake duck was racist. And then, yeah, that's happened to me before on Twitter because when I first started my newer account, I drew like a picture of a mama possum with her babies. And this possum account found it and retweeted it. And I was like, oh no. And everybody with like they, them in their bios started following me. And I was like, oh, I feel so bad for them. They're going to be real disappointed.
Man, there's a lot of natural questions there. I'm trying to be careful. Well, humor, I would say there's a lot of different types of humor, but the kind that I think is now considered edgy. There was a weird flip that happened. Like for me in the 90s, let's say there was the moms that didn't want us to play Mortal Kombat because it was violent. So let's protect the children. So now I've seen an odd flip where everything is PC. Let's protect the children. Don't say certain words. Don't bring up certain topics, even if it's just funny. It's just a silly joke.
Yeah. I think a lot of the charm in it now is like everything is absurd now. Like, how can I word this? I suppose like because in order for things to be funny, they have to have an air of absurdity to them.
Okay.
And not everything is absurd. So it's easy to find humor in like edgy things that are like, oh no, you ought not say that, and blah 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 blah. Like and I think that the boundary has moved a lot farther very, very recently too, because like I had people in my high school yearbook writing in it and like calling me the N-word and stuff. And like, I don't know, it's just like, it's so different now.
Well, I think anyone who's really uptight makes themselves a target to be made fun of. There has to be a little bit of room to, you know, someone could call me, you know, oh, you got a big nose or something. It's like, oh, right. But if I say like, you bastard, you never call me that again, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to burn your wife and children.
Yeah.
That will make them say that even more.
Yeah. It's like people just unlocked this really deep-rooted Spurg reaction. And like there's just so many people now who they're ready to go and they're ready to just Spurg out in public and everything. It's really entertaining.
It is. And I think the fact that, let's say I want to pick my words carefully, but at the same time, screw it. Like if they're out in the open, let's say they're making themselves easier targets to be made fun of. Whereas the people who are making fun of them, like if you were paying attention to the stuff that was He Will Not Divide Us.
Yeah.
All of those people, half those people were anonymous, poking fun at this guy, Shia, who was being so serious about himself. Trump is literally Hitler. It's like, oh my God, let's make so much fun of this guy.
Yeah. It's funny too, because Shia was my very first crush from when I was a little kid. And then I saw him grow up and become like a super spark, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry that happened to you.
He hasn't shown up recently, right?
No, didn't he like go to jail and then
They took his flag.
wait, oh yeah, he's still doing that or something. Like I don't even know anymore.
Man, I'm actually really looking forward to 2020 elections. Like, I kind of can't wait to see how they freak out.
I don't know. I just want people to talk about the internet, to be honest.
You don't want it?
No, I'm not that excited about it. I was excited about it in like 2016 and like the first couple of years, and it just kind of like the excitement for me isn't really there anymore. I'm just like, I'm never gonna get the things that I want out of a president, so I'm just going to be like, whoever talks about internet censorship, I'm just going to go with that person, basically.
I see. Yeah, I'm sure there's things that they tell them when they become president. Like, don't touch this. This is what we're doing here. Don't talk about
Yeah,
this.
don't
Who
build
knows?
a wall. Don't do anything like that.
Well, who knows, man? They say in the second term, that's when presidents make bold moves, like Obama with his insurance stuff. Like, because they want that reelection, so they're not going to do anything too ballsy. That would be my guess. But I'm of the opinion, like, I'm not going to act like an old man. Like, I've seen enough presidents, but I just don't. Anyone who's a president, as far as I'm concerned, it's like either they suck a little bit or they suck a lot. I don't expect anything really from that position.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people just got really disappointed in Trump.
Well, I'm sure there's like things going on behind the scenes that we have no idea about, but
Oh my gosh, there are. I don't want to think about him though.
I know. I mean, for us citizens, I guess the culture war is foremost for me at the very least. It's the biggest obstacle for me in my career, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to make money from comics is its own nightmare. But
oh my gosh.
now you've been in touch with a whole bunch of people like Dick Masterson, those types of people. How did you get in touch with them?
Well, after I got kicked off of Twitter, I made a Gap account, and some people found me on there. One guy was like, "Oh my gosh, you should go on the Dick Show," and I was like, "What's that?" I'd never heard of it before, and he sent me a link to the website, and I think that this might have been like when it was kind of new or something. Still, I might be wrong, but the website, it just looked so like kind of clunky and awkward, and it just said, "Dick, Dick, Dick, you want Dick, you need Dick," and I was like, "Oh no, I don't know if I want to go on a show like that." And I guess like for some reason we just had a lot of overlapping people who just liked our content, and somebody contacted me and was like, "Oh, you should do the thumbnail artwork for the Dick Show." And I was like, "Oh, not this again." And then I was like, okay, screw it, I'll do that. That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I met a bunch of the artists from the Dick Show, and I didn't meet them in real life anyway. We shared Discord group, and then I met Dick because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in LA. We should go get a coffee or something. And then he was like, oh, you should come on the show. And I was like, oh, geez.
And you would have declined then, of course.
I think I did end up going on the show, but I didn't want anyone to like look at me or anything like that.
I see. Now, the only reason I ask is just out of curiosity. I've heard of him. I don't really listen to him a lot, but I think there's overlap. Like, I followed him and the Maddox thing way back when.
Yeah.
And I still barely know what happened. But,
yeah, and that was hard for me too, because there was so much going on that I feel like that I just got thrown right in the middle of it, and everybody knew all this lore and I didn't. And I was like, geez Louise, how do the people keep up?
Yeah. Well, it seems that these culture war flashpoints keep happening and people take sides, and then they want to recruit talented creators to help them with their side, I suppose.
Yeah.
But your illustrations for his show are awesome. If anyone's never seen them, you got to look them up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a really fun little thing. I like doing it, and he's been really, really nice to me.
Have you met any other, I say famous, but well-known people who
Artists who are very epic and cool, yes.
Uh-huh.
I just went to Emily Yukas's wedding, and she's been really, really awesome to me too. I met Reagan actually around the time that I met Dick, I met a bunch of artists at the same time. That's also when I met like Emily and Reagan and Wormwood and really good comics.
Are they all kind of in the LA area?
No. It was just like we all happened to be there. I mean,
oh, that's so cool.
So like people were flying in from out of state and stuff.
That's fun. I've been in touch with Reagan a couple of times. I got to try to sync up with him to get him on the show sometime. These are all really nice people that I actually met through a group called Comicsgate, if you've heard of them.
Yeah.
But there's sort of a lot of overlap. Everyone kind of knows each other, but there's a million of these different factions, and it's way too much. Like you said, lore. Like, I don't know the backstory of who hates who and who's fighting with who. I couldn't care less.
No, I think it's real fun, to be honest. Like, at first I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't really care. But now I'm like, ooh, juicy. I want to hear more.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Maddox thing was really funny. And every time, like, something happens after that, I'm just kind of like, ha ha, you look dumb again.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe that's like silly and petty of me, but
no.
I think it's fun.
I don't have the stomach for it personally, but I can understand why. It's like they call it internet blood sports, right?
Right. And it's just funny because, like, I think that the reason why people love it so much is because Maddox kind of represents, like, the ultimate bad guy douchebag online.
Yeah, a sort of he used to be one of us, but what happened? Do you know the story?
Okay, so here's what it's going to sound bad coming from one person who doesn't know much about it to another, but so Maddox tried to sue Dick for like a lot of money, like $20 million or something like that. And he was also he was doing some really sneaky stuff too. He was like LARPing as a woman online to try and like do some sneaky stuff to other people and just acting really weird. And like, obviously it's really stressful to have like somebody try and sue you, even though it didn't seem like something was going to happen. But basically, I think he was trying to sue him for making fun of him and calling him a cuck.
They used to work together, right?
Yes.
They did a podcast kind of thing.
And then what happened was they went to somebody's wedding together, and Maddox's ex-girlfriend was there, and Dick ended up getting with Maddox's ex-girlfriend at the wedding. And Maddox at the time already had a new girlfriend, but he was still really mad about it. And he was like, oh, you better not have taken my ex-girlfriend or whatever. And he was like, oh, no, I didn't, but actually he did. And I think that they're still together. But basically after that, Maddox kind of started really, really not liking Dick anymore, I guess.
I see. And I noticed that, I don't know if this all coincides time-wise, his content really softened. Like, I used to follow him. Yeah. In 2003, I discovered him when I was in college, and his website would have me in tears laughing. Then he did his book, he did his show, YouTube, and then he kind of vanished. And only years later did I hear the story, sort of the story. But I don't know, there's all these like former, like, gosh, the one that, another example that recently happened was, well, first of all, you got JonTron and the Game Grumps people. There was a big breakup with them. And then there was the Best Friends play. Have you heard of that? Super Best Friends? Matt and Pat and Wooly and these guys. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they were really fun YouTubers, and then all of a sudden one day you hear one of them announce like, "We're just not friends anymore." I'm like,
Aw.
what happened? It's terrible, and you never know what really happened behind the scenes. But I think it's related to culture war stuff.
Yeah, I think for that stuff it definitely is. But with the Maddox case, specifically, I think he started picking up the whole "I'm better than you, I'm nicer than you" shtick, like kind of like later on. So it wasn't that in itself that did them in. It was just that he decided he was going to do that.
That's a dang shame.
I might be wrong though, but that's what I assessed.
Well, I'm sure it's all over the internet. I just don't have the time to like sort through 50.
Oh my gosh, there's so much, and there's a whole entire lawsuit, and there's like, I think some guy did a video about it, and I still haven't even watched that.
Man, no. Once it gets to that kind of level of, I'm just not into that drama. And man, my goodness, we have our share of it. Anytime you're going to get a certain number of people together, I think it's like 100 people, a group of 100 people, someone's going to end up splitting the group in half. Just because, oh, I'm going to go left, you go right. Well, let's see then. We talked about Dick Masterson. Comics, extroversion, and sort of. I used to call myself antisocial, but I think the term was asocial. It's more. Okay. Would you consider yourself that, like asocial? You just want to be on your own, kind of thing?
What's the difference between asocial and antisocial?
Well, anti would be I'm against people, right? Asocial is just like I don't want to be around people necessarily. I like being alone.
I think that I really, really, really want to hang out with women and talk to women. They're really difficult to find though. No, I'm like, I understand what it's like to be a man who can't get a girlfriend. They're just nowhere to be found.
Sane women? Is that the joke?
Oh, yeah, I guess. But, okay. I mean, like, even then, like, I have one friend in real life who's a girl. And she's so different from me. She's like a soy boy. And I guess that's a weird way to describe it, but she just really likes Star Wars and like plastic Funko Pop stuff, and she hates Trump and all this. And obviously we don't talk about politics, but we're very, very similar in some important ways.
So you have to you get along with her nicely, but you have to sort of avoid the serious stuff.
We hang out so that we can like talk about lizards or like go look at lizards. And we also like watch some wrestling sometimes. And I guess we watch Ghost Adventures because that's how our friendship started. We just used to always go to her house after school and watch Ghost Adventures. And it's just been really difficult to find female companionship.
Okay. I've heard that, you see, the kind of ladies that I get along with, let's say my wife, for example, I hear a similar story. I think it's like it's hard to get along with because I wouldn't say tomboyish exactly, but she's into things like wrestling also.
So I'm not even like a tomboy. It's like she's like a tomboy, and I just kind of like those stuff.
Okay. But it's a common story I hear among women of a certain type that I get along with. They don't get along with other women. I call them Stacy's as a joke. Like, oh, you don't want to hang out with Stacy.
I do.
Okay. But
I'm not picky.
Okay.
And I mean, like, my only take is that I just want her to be like nice to me, I guess, and kind of like be able to carry a conversation.
So as a result, most of your friends are guys, kind of thing?
No, I don't. I mean, like online, I'm not all that interested in hanging out with men just because I think that the male-female dynamic for friendship is really kind of not that strong.
Okay. It's sort of like that movie When Harry Met Sally.
I've never
Relationships.
seen that.
Of course, I'm sorry, I'm showing my age. It's a 80s movie.
Oh, okay.
The thesis of the movie is that guys and girls can't be friends because the relationship thing always gets in the way at some point.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't want to hang out with a guy and then think that we're friends and then have him be like, oh my gosh, I was nice to you and you were nice to me and that means that it's time for coochie. I'm like, I don't really want that kind of friendship.
I see. And so, well, for me, the solution is always just like, I like being alone.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's just kind of naturally ends up going that way for me.
The reason I'm asking this is like part of my, I always want to try to get in the mind of what makes an artist an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is just being comfortable in your own head.
Yeah.
I catch a lot of extroverted people, but maybe you think something differently than this. Extroverted people are very charismatic and outgoing, and they can build a huge audience, but maybe they don't spend as much time thinking. But maybe you're like the chosen one.
I don't know.
You feel like an extrovert, you mentioned, but also you like being alone.
I prefer to be alone if it means that I'm not. If I'm not going to have female friends, basically, I'd rather be by myself.
Uh-huh.
That's about what my take is. And then like, it's weird too. Like, I'll go to the cafe by myself and I'll be like, oh, maybe that girl would be friends with me, or maybe that girl would be my friend.
Mm-hmm. But you lament that they're not your friend.
Yeah, and then I'm like, how could I even talk to a girl? Because every time I try to talk to a girl, it's just really like, I don't think they're that interested.
But you would end up disagreeing with them on certain things, you would think.
Yeah.
Okay. It's tough. I've never thought of things from that perspective. Maybe for guys it's different. I don't know how they get along.
I think that men are in a really unique position to make friends with each other, where they can. There's a lot going on with men. Just like the state of being a man, I think, is enough to find camaraderie with your own gender.
You think so? I'm curious to hear your perspective on that.
Okay. Well, I think that like a lot of men, they're just like, oh, that feel no GF, and also, I think that men kind of enjoy being abrasive with each other and having disagreements, and like having the banter and things like that. And I think that with women it's a little bit different because I don't think that women enjoy the abrasiveness as much as men do.
Interesting. So guys like to be rowdy and wrestle and argue, fight.
Yeah, and then I think that women are a bit more particular.
That's interesting. It kind of gels with one of my theories of how guys get along. I don't think guys necessarily like talking about personal things. They like doing things together. Like let's say guys are, I don't know, building a house together, just to pretend they're building something. And it's like, all right, we're going to grunt at each other. It's like, all right, can you pass me the hammer? And then they start cursing at each other and maybe they fight.
And you know what? I think that the Dick Show is actually a really good example of that because there's so many people who listen to it. And I think that the thing that brings them all together is just literally just being a dude. Because it's like there's so many people who I've met through the Dick Show that they're all like gay and liberal and super vehemently racist, or it's just a broad spectrum of different people.
But they all bond over the let's be dudes kind of thing?
Yeah.
Interesting. I sort of see that world as a foreigner. I've never been one of the dudes personally. I guess I exist in this weird sort of in-between world where I can't quite get along with guys. And you know, we joke about the Stacys. Like, obviously, I'm not going to watch Say Yes to the Dress very much. But maybe artists, I've always seen like artists as a weird third category where we don't like being rough, but we're not super gentle either.
Yeah, and online, I mean, I get along really well with men and women who are artists.
Uh-huh. In real life, do you think, because the only examples I have of artists getting along, let's say, is the Impressionists or something like that, where there was like a city and a society where they all get to know each other and do their work together. Online, is it different socially? Like nobody gets together and hangs out on a Friday night because we all live across the country from each other.
Yeah, you just have Discord groups, basically.
Okay. It makes me sad to think that. Like,
yeah.
I want to get to know more artists. I've always wanted to. But sitting at a Discord like on a Friday night seems like extra sad to me.
Oh, I do that like every day.
Yeah.
But it's just like normal to me. I'm just like, oh, I gotta see what this Discord group is saying right now.
Is that where the action is these days? Social?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so, unless I'm like really behind the times. I mean, for me, my action's on Discord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm missing out on a lot of stuff because I don't use it very often.
Yeah, I think you are too.
I just got invited to some kind of Reddit artists. I don't even know what it is, but like I wanted to ask the guy, do you know who I am? Why did you invite me to this? Because if they knew my name, I'm thinking
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the other thing on that note that I found really weird was I was looking at your Twitter page and I noticed that Shen followed you.
Yeah, he and I are actually buds.
Ooh,
I'm not going to act like we're super best friends or anything.
Yeah.
But for instance, like he and I went to a couple of cons together. We drove together. He and I, of course, politically, we don't agree on very much, but I wanted to do an example. Actually, if you check out my channel later, I interviewed him just like we're talking.
How about?
So if you go back to my library, whoever's listening, you can find that interview. But he and I wanted to set an example of, look, we disagree on stuff politically, but we have this mutual love for comics and anime and games and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. We're buds, and it's okay to disagree with people and not hate each other's guts.
Yeah. I also think it's kind of fun to disagree sometimes.
You enjoy the debates?
I think they can be fun. Like, mm-hmm. I guess I just mostly have them on Discord, to be honest. I don't get a whole lot of, sometimes I go to a discussion group at the university here. And then there's I guess you could call it like a debate group, but people basically pick their position and then they defend it. It's pretty fun. And it can be really fun because you get people in there who are like clearly just taking a position for the sole purpose to be contrarian. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Is it easy to shut them down?
I mean, like, not their spirit, but yeah. Their arguments, yes, but I mean, they still they're like, no, obviously cattle are worth more than fetuses. I'm like, come on, dude, you don't really think that.
For God's sakes. I can't talk to that. It stresses me out so much to like, I can't believe someone's actually saying the words I'm hearing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not something I'm built for personally, but I think the more you spend time talking like that, the more you're going to be equipped to make good arguments.
Yeah.
I mean, part of what I think makes your comics so good is that you have, like, they're not only funny, but it makes me at the end, I'm like, man, she's got a good point.
Yeah. I don't even want to do comics anymore, to be honest.
All right. Do you want to talk about that? Like, you're doing animation, right?
Yeah, I want to start doing animation. I actually just got some recordings yesterday that I'm going to animate.
Music recordings?
No. I'm never, ever animating a music video ever again. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to listen to that Stacey song so many times. I'm never going to listen to it on purpose ever again.
And if anyone's curious, if you go to HeHe's comics channel, there's a music video we're talking about where she animated. It was what, 2 minutes long, something like that.
It's almost 3 minutes long.
And it was good, but I'm sure it took a lot of work.
It took like a month, I think. But I also think that it helped me animate faster. Because the second half was animated much more quickly than the first half.
What shortcuts did you take?
I don't think I really took any shortcuts because I was still like drawing all the backgrounds and stuff. I just think that I kind of got into the rhythm of it and had it faster.
Did you do it cell by cell? Like, I'm trying to dumb words. Did you use After Effects, or were they just slideshow kind of thing?
I literally used Fire Alpaca, which is a free program. You've probably heard of it. And Windows Movie Maker.
Okay.
So it was just like I would draw the frames and then import them into Windows Movie Maker and time them there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to do that too. I would just export JPEGs at the intended resolution and then have them in a slideshow. It worked.
Yeah, it's essentially a slideshow.
But that's what traditional animation was.
Yeah.
And you like doing this, even though you said you want to do more?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing more pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Any previews, like what kind of subject matter?
Okay. Do you know who Really Good Comics is?
I'm not sure.
Okay, he's this guy, and he doesn't really do political comics, but he does these 9-panel comics that are just extremely absurd. And he has this comic where a guy uses super glue and nails, I think, to make a giant ball of rats. And he pushes it down a hill, and then the rats land on this guy's scrotum because he's stretching his scrotum out on a table with glue and nails, and that's the whole comic.
So that inspired you?
And I was like, dude, I really, really want to animate this. And he was like, do it. So I had him send me some voice acting stuff.
Jeez,
cool. So I'm going to be doing that next.
That's funny. Are you going to try out any new techniques to make it go faster?
Well, I got a new computer, so I'll just I'll see what equivalent of Windows Movie Maker it has, and then I'll just do what I did before.
Jeez, I wish I could recommend something. I had to get Premiere and all that stuff. If you ever feel like if you have the money that you want to invest in that sort of thing, I actually do recommend learning After Effects and that kind of thing. If you want to do things like you only have to do one drawing and then you can have it pan and scroll and scale, it might make your animation go really fast, but it depends on the kind of style you're looking for.
I did a lot of looking into different types of animation like a long time ago, like when I very first started wanting to animate, because I wanted to animate when I was like a little kid. But maybe like a few years ago. But I was reading about like different programs and stuff, and I was like, oh, there's got to be a way to make it faster. I need to see examples. And then I looked at the examples, and they were all just terrible. They were so ugly, and I was like, there's no way. I would rather sit at my desk for like 12 hours and just animate something that looks like it was animated and not just like stretched around and vectorized and ugly.
I understand. Yeah. There's man, I wish. See, that's the downside to like, artists, but it's like, oh, let me just show you on my computer. It's really easy. You can do animation like this. But if you keep doing animation, there are a few shortcuts that I think you would benefit from. The reason I'm telling you is because I'm biased. I want to see more of your stuff out in the world, and I want you to be able to do as much as you can. So
I want to do more animations for sure. I mean, like, at least I don't really want to do the political comics anymore because it's just not exciting for me anymore, really.
uh-huh.
But I do have a couple of comics that are like ongoing comics on my Patreon. But I think those are different because one of them's about a caveman and then one of them's about like, it's like a stupid comic I'm doing with my friend Poons, who's also an artist.
Uh-huh.
And basically, she lives in Scotland, and we went on a draw pile one day, and I designed a character that was supposed to represent her, and then she designed one that was supposed to represent me, and then we decided we would do a comic where we are working at like a cage store,
Mhm.
and I'll send her one panel that I did, and then she sends it back to me with another panel, and we make the comic like that.
And this is for everybody who subscribes to your Patreon to see?
Yeah, kind of. It's just the $5 tier on Patreon. It's
Okay.
Don't go running to it because it's not that great. But it's really, I think it's fun to do.
Is it all under the name HeHe Silly?
I don't know. It doesn't really have a name, I guess. I
Oh, I'm
don't
sorry,
like
the
saying
Patreon.
it. Oh, I think so. I don't know. I think it's HeHe Silly because I changed it from HeHe Silly Comics to HeHe Silly
Uh-huh.
on my regular name thing, but I think that my URL is still HeHe Silly Comics. I need to update it because I don't think I'm going to be really doing a whole lot of comics anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, having a Patreon, I think, would be the future for any sort of creator, even though Patreon had its controversies. That's probably the best way to support creators.
Yeah, there's another one that Dick made called New Project 2. I don't know if you've
Uh-huh.
heard about that, but I have New Project 2, and it doesn't use PayPal.
Mhm.
It does something else. I don't know what it does, but it's pretty cool.
It's a PayPal alternative.
No, it's like a Patreon alternative.
Let's see. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I think I sent him a thing. I don't know.
Like to make an account?
Something like that. It was like a mailing list. Like when we do something, we'll contact you.
Okay.
I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was right after I think they dropped Sargon. And
And then a lot of people started dropping Patreon.
yeah, that's too bad. That was a whole mess. But I don't know what the solution to that is actually. A lot of like when they come after you, they're going to come after your wallet. They're going to come after you socially.
Yeah.
That's
It's
one of
kind
the.
of shitty.
On
It's
one
not
hand,
enough just to embarrass you, to be honest.
wow, that goes back to me. Like I just think that they're religious maniacs. It's just they don't actually worship anything. So like, I was talking to my wife about this morning. Like they will inflict negative emotion on you. Like for instance, shame or guilt. But ultimately, they're just trying to coerce you. If they want to make you behave in a certain way.
I think that they behave more like an abusive boyfriend, to be honest.
Like in a controlling sort of.
Like in a bad relationship where the person's like, oh, I thought that you loved me, but I can see that you actually don't want to do all my laundry for me right now. Well, that's a bad example because, like, I mean, like, you would do that, right? But just to, like, kind of use those kind of tactics where it's just like, oh, well, I guess you're this because you just didn't do the right thing.
Uh-huh. So in this metaphor, is the only thing left to do just break up with them?
Well, yeah.
I mean, they're not going to change.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, either way, you can't really do anything about it. So you either, like, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how many other artists feel like this, but I talk to a lot of people on Twitter who are sort of trying to create I guess they call it parallel markets, let's say comics or game development is going through its own thing, I suppose. But web comics artists too. There are just certain places on the internet where you're not welcome. I don't mean you, but in general.
Well,
So
I'm sure me too.
yeah, I suppose so. But it's because we are failing their purity tests. And what they're really doing, like I come from a religious background, so that's where I see the patterns of, oh, they're just trying to cleanse the church. I see them as a group of zealots who just want to clean the world up. And eventually, when they run out of targets, they're going to end up destroying themselves. Or at least doing like what cults do and just like, let's have this closed compound and no one can come in or out. And we're just going to cleanse the world, and the promised land will come, or the chosen one will descend upon us.
To me, it's just like, it's also tiresome, and it's like, there's like no point in even talking about it anymore. You have to just move on to the next thing.
Okay.
Like, there's no point in like trying to analyze these people. You just have to do what you have to do and figure it out.
So just a clean breakup. I don't need you anymore. I'm going to go.
Yeah. Screw you. I'm going to draw some guy doing a bad thing. I don't know.
I understand. See, I have to convince myself to do that still. I have this dumb thing in my head like, no, I can convert them back. I can make them stop being crazy. I know. It's pointless.
Yeah, there's like no point in having the SJW conversation. Like, things have already moved so far past that now. And that's part of the reason why I don't really want to do comics anymore. It's just like, there's nothing left to say for me anyway.
Uh-huh. Oh man, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
You're so full of hope
and
positivity. And here I'm sitting on this garbage fire. Like, no, I can put it out.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, YouTube, they say, is a huge booming place, so I'm sure you're in good company here. That you only have 2 videos right now on your channel, but you plan to do more with it, right?
Yeah.
Like live streams and that sort of thing?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, we'll get it figured out for you. But we were talking about, like, for instance, we wanted to do draw pile or something like that, where we're just, as we're talking, we can be drawing something.
Yeah, I think those are fun for me.
Okay.
Like, that's so much fun.
And that's a good way for a bunch of artists to just get together and doodle and talk about whatever. I think that's relaxing.
Yeah, I do too. I used to do it a lot with like my comic friends.
Yeah, even I hate dropping the name so often, but Shen, he and I started, when we started talking, that's what we did. We used draw pile and stuff like that. I think we saved some of our drawings where I don't remember what he was doing. Something like somebody just drew some dicks. And
do you guys ever like make fun of each other?
He and I?
Yeah.
I don't think.
You don't call him a bite cuck or anything?
No. No, I wouldn't be bold enough to call someone that.
I would. If my friends did something like that, I would do it.
Yeah.
Like if Wormwood became a bite cuck, I would call him that.
Oh, jeez. Well, when and if you talk to him, you can iron that out. He and I actually discussed that. Like, he was less pissed off by that than other things when he got run off Reddit and stuff.
He got run off Reddit? What? I missed everything.
Not exactly, but the bike comic, like, everyone on the internet was like making fun of him and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying that didn't bother him as much as other stuff that they were saying. So he's just like, screw you guys, and he had some family thing going on. So he's like, I'm just going to be off the internet for a while.
Okay.
But you see, I think a lot of comics people, or even people who just draw and love art, like, we should all know each other. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, and do more live streams, and I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely resonated with that a lot when I kind of the first year I started doing my comics, I think, because I think that's when I met most of the people that kind of like stuck around a lot. Or maybe I just say that because it hasn't been that long yet. But I think networking is very, very important.
I would say it's almost more important than, well, it's 50-50 probably, but being a good artist is important, but also being able to, having people know that you exist is just as important.
Yeah, and people are, I mean, like, you could make the argument that it's like, oh, well, I mean, all of it's important and everything you do is important. But it's like, let's be real, dude. I want to make some money and have some kids.
Well, you got to start with the goal. The most important, let's see. I've seen a lot of, I hate saying this because it sounds really mean, but like I've seen a lot of people who are not so great at what they do get super famous because they're good at networking.
Yes, and you know what? I saw some dude on Twitter one time and he was bitching because my friends are such good artists and they don't get any commissions. On the other hand, these like right-wing Nazis, they're getting all these like drowning in money, which for one is funny because like we're not. I don't know anybody who's doing this that's probably drowning in money except for maybe Ben Garrison.
Mm-hmm.
And the other funny thing about it is like, dude, you think that all these people are just retarded like commission cattle. And you don't care what happens to them. You don't care if they lose their jobs. You just don't. Like, what the hell do you think that this market is?
One of the big arguments, especially in comics, is that the super left-leaning, let's say editors, CEOs, that sort of thing, they tend to hire people who will agree with them rather than the people who are talented.
Or the people having sex with them.
Unfortunately, yeah, which it kind of goes against their whole shtick, like all that hashtag Me Too stuff. Like they somehow end up with the creepiest dudes in the highest positions.
Somehow. I just don't know how.
And then all these like kind of not qualified individuals seem to be climbing the ladders, even though it's like you've got no credentials, you've got no talent as far as I can tell, and somehow you're like a senior editor at one of these companies.
Yeah.
But ironically, that just means that all of the good stuff is what I just, there's a giant umbrella of indie stuff. Maybe we don't make a lot of money at it, but that's where the good stuff is.
Yeah, it's fun.
Wow. But that goes back to networking, I suppose. We have to know that each other exists. Because how many months ago I didn't know half of the people? No.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing was? I found your comics through the Bad Conserve Art page.
Oh my god! Do you think that I had a theory that was fake? Like that's secretly somebody on our side.
I think that's a hard one because it's like they also do a good job at like the random character breaking spurg outs.
I don't know. Like they might have changed it. As a joke, I sent them a message saying Shadowlay. I just wanted to see what they were going to say back. But their profile, their birthday is 420, and something about 69 was in their title. And I'm thinking like, wait a second. Because whenever they tried to steal or post my stuff without my permission and all that crap, my followers blew up by like 1,000 people.
Yeah, because all of the people who like follow other comic artists are also following the Bad Conserve Art page.
Jeez. So it's the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
What are we going to do if they go away? We got to somehow find more people.
I don't know. Actually, I just kind of feel like all these people fell in my lap. Like I didn't mean to network with these people. They just kind of showed up. Mm. It was like my very first comic friends were like...
Because of Bad Conserve?
HeHe and... No, before that.
Okay.
because I mean, like, if they disappear and like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, I literally don't know what's gonna happen because I didn't know what happened before.
Gosh, I don't know. I guess that puts us in a strange position to sort of decide what we want to do with this network. My goal, let's say, for instance, is that I just want to meet as many people as I can, use this dumb little show, for example, and just be like, oh, let's talk and draw and get to know each other and have people know who we are for the first time. Maybe. I don't know.
For me, it's like I want to find really cool people to make stuff with.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, for instance, like you had the opportunity to, or you might have had at some point, if you're not interested in comics, I guess it doesn't matter, but you could collect your stuff in a book, for instance.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that, but like very, very shortly, because I'm just like, I don't even like my own comics, to be honest. Like a second after I make them, I usually don't even like them anymore. There's only like a handful of comics that I still actually like.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The art or the content?
All of it. Like I'm just like, I make it like very, very on a whim. So let me think. There's like a handful of comics that I did that I still think that I like. And one of them is there's like a couple that doesn't want to have children, and so they have a puppy instead, and the puppy, it's just like a slice of life, kind of the story about the dog's life as he grows up and his mom dies. But probably no one still.
How long does it take you to do
the ones that I make that are just like deliberately stupid. I'm sorry, I think that I might be lagging. I'm gonna pop in and out real quick.
Oh, sure. I'll just take a look at the comments in the meantime then. Let's see. My goodness, we have a lot of comments here today. Well, I'm always surprised. I always say this. Surprised by anybody who comes and wants to listen live. I'm honored. And the goal of this show and shows like it is that we want to try to humanize your cartoonists and hear their stories and how they got to doing what they do. And so what I'm trying to say is if you know anybody who should be on this little show, please put me in touch with them. Twitter is gprime85. And yeah, we'll try to schedule something like during the day, maybe do an hour, that sort of thing. I just want to have everybody get to know each other some more. I'll see if there's any questions here in the comments. Reagan, I'm so jealous, man. You seem plugged in with everybody. You and I have to talk sometime, man. Nurse Joy. Into it. Let's see. For anyone listening, there's dead air because HeHe decided, well, not decided, she was having problems with Wi-Fi or something, so she's going to come back. Maybe I'll put some music on in the background. Comments. Someone help me with what I should talk about. Or I'll put some music on. Let's see. Maybe I'll just play someone else's channel. They have some music going on or something. Or I could talk about news, but I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I'm so sorry about that.
Right, you saved me. I was going to say something stupid.
Oh.
Okay. Nurse Joy makes a good point. Talk about Mary Sue. I'll have to do that next time.
Is Mary Sue like the publication or something?
Oh, no, I have a comic that I might be doing next for Indiegogo.
Oh.
It's the joke was like Captain Marvel sucked and all that stuff, and or Brie Larson sucked, and I have this comic that I called Mary Sue because everything goes wrong for her, so it's an ironic name, and she has to actually earn her victories, and that's a big trope. Like everyone talks about the Mary Sue. If you follow Star Wars at all, they say Oh, okay. So there's a thing called Mary Sue's. It doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
they say Rey in Star Wars 7 and 8 is a Mary Sue because basically the whole world is served to her on a plate. She's good at everything. She's friends with everybody. She has no problems. She
Hmm.
doesn't have to earn her victories.
Okay. So it's
That
like a Stacy.
Yeah, basically. So, but it also could be they call it a Gary stew for men. But basically, it's just poor writing in the end. So I thought I would show how to write a good character in the sense that like she sucks at everything she does, but she still has to win the hard way. So I thought it would be like a fun comic of like she wears a mech suit and fights and it's fun and
Oh,
there you go.
that's good. You're very, very professional with your drawings. I mean, like when I found them, I was surprised that I hadn't heard of them before because you actually put effort into them.
I don't know. I think I have the same problem that you mentioned a few minutes ago of I hate my own stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's a fun topic if you want to talk about that. But we almost hit an hour. I don't want to keep you on. Don't want to keep you on too long. But I'm interested in this thing that artists have. I call it low art self esteem.
I
Like
think there might be an actual word for it. I don't know what it is though.
but we are talking about the same thing. It exists.
Hmm.
I think in the same way that somebody might look in the mirror and be like, "Oh, I'm ugly," even though they're
Right.
so I look at your stuff and I love it. Like love it. I want it on my wall. I want a book of it. It's awesome. But you said that you don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that it was doomed from the start because it is so. There's so many comics that I've done that are just very, very specific to something that happened. Um, and like if something happens in the news cycle, I would do a comic about it. So it would be kind of like it's going to last maybe as long as that story.
Uh-huh. I can see that. But so it's the content I think that is more it doesn't have a long shelf life to you. But
Hmm.
art-wise, are you satisfied with how your stuff looks?
Uh, I honestly, I don't. I'm trying to find a nice way to say this. I honestly don't really care. I don't. Um, I like to basically make sure that my characters are wearing like comfortable clothes,
Mhm.
and that's it.
So in terms of color choices and like your line work, right? Do you scan your stuff? Do you draw digitally?
I draw digitally, and I turn off pressure sensitivity. Um, basically, I feel like anybody who can turn off pressure sensitivity could emulate my art style pretty easily.
Mhm. Well, maybe the line work because I'm sure you use just a basic brush, right?
I just use like, yeah, a, like a normal round, non-textured brush.
Okay. But the actual characters and your color choices are pretty unique. Like it's not something you often see. It looks simple but also strangely refined. Like actually I thought you were a lot older by your art than you sound. That's I don't mean that to sound in a weird way.
Thank you.
No,
No.
I'm so sorry for
No, 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 no. I'm not
no, I
like
mean like in
I'm
terms of
not butthurt. It's okay.
all right. The art looked really good and I'm like, wow, how long has she been practicing?
Oh my gosh,
It's
that's so
good.
funny.
But like things like I'm trying, for instance, now to learn color theory. Have you ever studied it?
No.
Okay. So it's just an instinctual, you just choose colors because it looks good.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Oh geez. Don't say that.
No, the reason is because like I have a background in black and white, mostly ink and pencil and that sort of thing. So in
Yeah.
the past few years, I've been trying to train myself to see in color and deal with colors. And there is a thing called color theory where
Mhm.
just basically you want to choose like complementary colors or colors that work well together. And your stuff is so pleasing to the eye that it's so natural. And I'm like, shoot, like how can I do that? But for you, it's just an instinctual thing.
Yeah. I don't really try to look at it as like a big science thing. or like any kind of theoretical thing. It's just, oh, I think that the burgundy would look good with the brown. That's it.
Man, that's in some ways you are in the best position to get really good really fast. Like some people get in their own heads really, like, how do I explain it? You think too much and then you don't take risks anymore. So you don't just have fun with what you're doing, but you don't have that problem.
Actually, I think my problem is I got to a certain point in my development and I stopped because no, I stopped developing. And like with my animation stuff,
Mhm.
I'm basically using the same exact technique I did when I was like a 10-year-old. And then I don't like do any professional stuff or anything like that.
Wow. Where's the line of professional, honestly? Because it looks professional to me.
I guess like a professional would be somebody who like maybe actually releases like a book or something and like looks like they tried.
That's, I guarantee everyone here listening is going to agree with me on this. That's totally you saying that about yourself. It does look professional. And
I don't get that.
if the only thing stopping you from putting out is putting out a book, we can arrange that. We can have you put out a book just like that.
By the way, aren't you like coming out with like a hardcover book?
Yeah, one of them is going to be possibly hardcover.
Okay, I don't know anything about hardcover books, so I would be interested in knowing.
It depends on your printer. A lot of printer services will. I can give you all the information later, but yes, if I give you the information for my people, I would definitely encourage you to put out a book because I will order one immediately.
I just want to do a coloring book.
You should do it. I'm sure a lot of people here would love it. And Nerd Wonder makes a point. Do you follow crowdfunding at all, Indiegogo and stuff?
No.
Okay. Let me be the person to tell you then. You need to look into Indiegogo. And if you ask for, say, like, I don't know, however many $1,000, hey, everyone, give me $3,000 or more, and I will make a hardcover coloring book. I guarantee you will get it funded. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm still working on the pages though.
Okay. I think even people would pay ahead of time. So if you have,
I don't want to. I don't want to do that. What if I took too long?
well, there is one book. I think it's what? How long is Cyberfrog overdue? I think it's like a year, almost a year.
Oh my goodness, that is too long.
But people, they know that it's going to be good, so they're willing to wait. But all this is trying to say is I really insist that you look into Indiegogo because your stuff is so good and everyone knows you and likes your stuff. You will get it funded immediately. Like Earthworm Jim. Have you ever heard of Earthworm Jim?
Yeah.
Right. So the artist is named Doug TenNapel.
Yeah.
And if you look him up, he actually got his Earthworm. He just launched an Earthworm Jim book.
Mm-hmm.
It got funded in what? An hour?
Oh my goodness.
No. But listen to this. It got funded how fast? He asked for $5,000, but he got $100,000 in less than a day.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's insane.
This Indiegogo thing is no joke. If you do it, you may strike big, big money. And I think you're in a great position to do it. If you want to put out a book, now's the time.
Yeah, I want to do a coloring book about witches and then have it be like a chaptered coloring book and have all the chapters be like different seasons.
Oh, man.
So that you can pick your mood.
Well, shoot. Let me tell you this then. If you want to do it, I don't know if you have better contacts than me, but if you can't find anyone, I will help you make that book if you want. It needs to exist.
I think that I trust you because I think you seem like you focus on really tangibly kind of professional things.
Well, fortunately, indie comics, like I haven't made a lot of them, but or I haven't sold a lot of them, but I know how to make a book. But all right, so maybe offline after we're done, another time, whatever, we'll make this happen. But yeah, that's crowdfunding, Indiegogo, and making your own comics and your own books is the way to go this is the hot thing right now. I guarantee.
Mhm.
Well, all right. Let's see. We've gone a long time. Let me see if there's anything else to talk about this time. We talked about how long does it take you to draw a strip, or
Oh,
how's your speed? Do you feel like you're fast, slow?
for a strip, it really varies. It used to be shorter, and then like as time went on, it became longer. And I usually start at the end of the strip and then do it backwards.
Really?
hmm
Do you do a pencil layer?
I usually do one layer that's like, I guess you could call it a pencil layer, but I'll use like obviously like a light color and then sketch everything out and then go over it.
Mhm. Is there any artists who you've been influenced by?
Okay, I mean like there's one artist. I don't know if it's one artist or if it's like more than one person.
Mhm.
I don't know who does the artwork for poppin' music, like the Baimani game,
I'm not familiar.
but there's like in the Baimani games, like in DDR and stuff, like they have really cute artwork for like their, I guess it's kind of like an album cover type of deal.
Mhm.
Um, and I really like that stuff. I think that it kind of resembles my stuff as well.
So pop art influenced, because I was looking at your stuff, and again, I didn't know anything about you, so I was thinking like you must have seen MTV and Nickelodeon from the 90s.
I don't think it really resembles like the older stuff. I think it actually there was a an animation that came out on Cartoon Network that really it looked like I drew it, and somebody sent it to me, and I was like, holy shit.
You remember the name?
They could have hired me, but I bet this woman who did the artwork is probably like just retarded enough.
Man. Well, geez, there's a million and one questions I want to ask some further, but generally I say about an hour for these. We were at 76 minutes. Nurse Joy asks, was it Summer Camp Island?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
I didn't watch it. I think I watched the pilot, and it just seemed like just seemed okay.
Did it piss you off to see it?
No, I was like, oh my gosh. I tried to trick people online into thinking that I worked on it.
They would have believed it, I'm sure.
I think there was a couple.
Well, again, it adds to your mystique. It's, who is this mystery person?
Uh,
Like for a while, like I don't even know how many people knew that you were a girl. I'm assuming your gender. I'm so sorry.
well, I mean, I kept it kind of low key for a while, but I figured like people knew eventually anyway.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it's like there's no taking it back.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to kind of, and it really bothered me a lot too initially because it's like I don't know if these people just like my stuff and like follow me because I'm a girl and they want to orbit me or something.
Okay.
So I didn't want people to really, I didn't want to feel like people liked me for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So online, I still LARP like a man.
I see. I don't know how much longer you'll be able to do that, but I'm sure you have other pseudonyms. Well, the reason I ask is, well, it's just an instinct thing. Like I could tell that you were a girl from the way you drew, and I don't know how many people can pick that up. But
There was, I used to go on polls sometimes and I'd see people like make a thread about me or something and they would argue about if I was a man or a woman and they'd be like, definitely transsexual, definitely transsexual.
because you have the humor of a man.
Yeah. And like some woman made this big long paragraph post that was like, this is my exact analysis of why HeHe Silly Comics is definitely a transsexual. A woman would never write this stuff and blah, blah, blah.
It's
And I
too
am a
funny.
woman and I would know. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. But
My favorite thing is when people think that I'm a man and then they shit on me. And they're like, I fucking hate that guy. And I'm like, it kind of makes me feel good.
because they don't
Because
like the
they're hating
content.
me for the wrong reasons. Yeah. I mean, they're hating me for the right reasons.
I see. Well, isn't that really the dream of equality? Is don't see the person's work because of, all these superficial things. It's just judge the work by itself.
Yeah, because men online are really, really like they're just retarded. I'm gonna be honest. Like they don't know how to behave. They they get like overly excited about like men wearing striped socks and like just anything that resembles a woman in any capacity just gets them going.
And I imagine that would be very creepy if it was directed at you.
Oh yeah,
My goodness.
it is creepy. It makes me feel gross. Mostly it just kind of annoys me because it's like I don't think that you like my content because you think it's good. I think that you're just a retarded e-boy.
Thinking, oh, an artist just for me.
Not even that, because I think that e-boys, they tend to just like try to talk to every single girl online because it's like they just like really want to land one or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if it's any consolation, like I actually was when I saw your stuff, I was blown away in the same way that when I saw Shen's stuff for the first time, I was like, holy crap, this is a serious, this is someone to keep an eye on. I had nothing to do with who you were or anything like that. It was because the work was excellent.
Well, thank you.
But anyway, I think a lot of people would agree with that, but I do feel sorry for you or any girl online. Because I've never had to deal with that crap, but I would be just as annoyed, I'm sure.
It's just annoying, to be honest. It's not that creepy. Nobody's like, hey, I'm going to show up at your house. Where do you live?
Jeez.
But they're just like, show feet, marry me, do this and that. And I'm like, okay, you're going to have a stock response that every boy has. Calm down.
My goodness. I don't even know what to say to people like that. I don't know. But I think, geez, I don't know. I'm trying to be positive here. Screw them. Try to keep doing your stuff. They don't deserve your time. Let's elevate our platforms.
Yeah. So I think if I end up getting back on Twitter again, it's probably going to end up being like, I'm mostly going to like probably ignore people unless they want to give me money.
Yeah, I think I hate doing this, and I'll end with this. I'm sorry for keeping you on so long, but I think the mute and block functions are necessary.
I don't do that.
All right. So mute, for example, is just like this person pisses me off too much, and I'm just done.
Well, it doesn't make me angry is the thing.
Okay.
It's just like, it feels just like reading a video game character's dialogue, I guess. Where it's just like, oh, how predictable. I don't know.
Huh. Well, whatever would have discouraged you, I do hope that they don't bother you and that you come back.
It's not really discouraging. It's just kind of like
annoying.
Dumb. Yeah.
Well, the world, you described NPCs basically and all that stuff, but the world belongs to real characters.
Yeah.
Forget about the NPCs. All right, so I think we've done quite a long time, and I want to. I guess I'm going to say, I'm going to close. But is there anything else you want to talk about while we're here with everybody?
Nope, not that I know.
That's the closing message from HeHe Silly. A burp.
Gotta let it out.
Well, I don't have any farts right now, but I owe you all. I have some good farts sometimes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that the fart jokes made a comeback online. That's been my favorite thing ever.
Where on 4chan and stuff?
Just like in general, even on Twitter.
That's good.
I like the doo-doo jokes. I think they're great.
My goodness. Well, the more serious people get, like the clown world stuff, the more serious the world gets, the more we just have to make fun of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm just going to say thanks to everybody for stopping by. Again, if you know anyone that I should talk to, feel free to let me know. Again, Twitter G Prime 85. and put me in touch with people. We'll do drawing streams and all that stuff. And I'm sure we're going to have HeHe back sometime. Or maybe I'll go on your channel and we can draw together.
Oh, good luck. You're gonna have to face my really bad internet, and that's gonna be bad.
Well, we'll figure it out. And we'll try to get that Indiegogo going or some kind of book or something like that.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming, everybody. Thanks, HeHe Silly. It's been amazing. It's been an honor to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you guys, I will see you next time. I don't have an outro or anything, so peace out. See you next time. All right.